My friends, the concept of a hideout in Latin America has just been rewritten with blood and gunpowder. Somewhere in the dense, humid plains of the state of Bolívar, in the heart of the impenetrable Venezuelan jungle just before dawn, a small green-roofed building simply ceased to exist. We're not talking about a siege where the local police, often corrupt, use a megaphone to ask the drug dealer to surrender. We are witnessing the application of what I call the doctrine of invisible fire. Remember this, because the worst criminals in the world look up at the clear sky and see nothing, but the invisible fire is already marked on their foreheads. The footage of the attack shows the pure and absolute decimation of that complex. In a fraction of a second, the structure was swallowed by a colossal fireball that outshone even the Venezuelan sunrise. It wasn't random bombing. It was a single Hellfire missile fired from an invisible drone, generating a brutal thermobaric explosion that overpressurized the structure until it turned into cosmic dust. The target wasn't a street soldier. The man inside that building was Hector Hustenford, a Flores warrior, the infamous warrior's nest. The supreme commander and architect, the one from the most dangerous terrorist organization in our hemisphere, the Aragua Tren. And today, you will understand how the United States and New Venezuela took off the gloves and used the most advanced military technology on planet Earth to send a definitive message to all Latin American terrorists and to the Sao Paulo Forum, the sanctuary of terror. It fell. This, my friends, is absolutely serious, and the mainstream media tried to cover up the official statement from the leader of the free world so they wouldn't have to admit it. President Trump went straight to social media and sent out a message that made every cartel boss in the world break out in a cold sweat. He declared the following: "Under my direction, the United States Southern Command launched a rapid and lethal kinetic strike to successfully execute Niño do Guerreiro. The notorious Tren de Aragua is one of the most bloodthirsty terrorist organizations on the planet." He reminded the world that during his campaign he promised to expel these monsters and bring justice. Donald Trump did not mention cold statistics, he mentioned names. He honored the victims of the weak border system. He named two young women, one just 12 years old, Jocelyn Nungre, and Laken Ridley, 22 years old. In addition to countless other souls brutally taken on American soil by these cowardly criminals, the invisible fire was the relentless retribution for them and their families. Trump made it clear, weak leaders left America defenseless. But now the criminal organization is officially classified as a foreign terrorist organization. The hunt is on. This operation was coordinated with Venezuela's new government, showing the diplomatic landscape has changed since Nicolás Maduro's fall. Desde a queda de Nicolás Maduro. The Tren de Aragua terrorists have lost their safe haven in Venezuela and have nowhere to run. In Trump's words, the American military will find these drug lords anytime, anywhere, and send them to the depths of hell where they belong. But now let's think about this for a second. How did we get to the point where the United States needs to launch an air-launched thermobaric missile in the middle of the Venezuelan jungle to hunt down a single man? To understand the size of this tumor, we need to dissect the empire that Niño Guerreiro built. Before we start, please subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video. It takes a lot of work to make. If you rewind the historical tape, Guerreiro was not just an ordinary street thug. In 2014, he founded Tren de Aragua, operating from inside the cells of the infamous Tocoron prison. He wasn't just serving time, he built a parallel state of absolute corruption. The prison had an Olympic-sized swimming pool, a private zoo, restaurants, a nightclub with reggae music playing until dawn, and, believe it or not, its own human resources department inside the prison. The prison guards received their salaries from the government, but their real boss was Guerreiro. This was the moral and institutional bankruptcy of the old Venezuela, led by Maduro and the Sao Paulo Forum, which is now here in Brazil. And from inside the prison, he spread his tentacles to more than 14 different countries. Write down this number. 14 different countries. We're talking about an army of more than 7,000 men. an organization that profited not only from drugs, but also from the macabre business model of forced prostitution, global human trafficking, daily extortion, and killings. The headlines about the trail of blood they left behind exploded in places as far apart as Aurora, Colorado, and Barcelona, Spain. When the police tried to raid Tocaron prison at the end of 2023, he had already disappeared into the jungle. There was a $5 million bounty on his head. He felt like the untouchable emperor, shielded by the hostile geography of the forest. But military technology ignores geography, doesn't it? And this is where the spectacle of United States military intelligence comes in. The commander of the Southern Command Southcom, General Donovan, and the American Secretary of Defense, now called the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, confirmed the annihilation. And they made it clear that the gloves were off and thrown in the trash. Hegseth put it bluntly. This highlights the shared commitment of the United States and Venezuela to take the fight to the narco-terrorists. They are talking like fighter pilots going in for the kill. Because the system is now focused on lethality, not on loose bureaucratic arrests. The tactical problem they solved is a masterpiece of guided death. Guerreiro had no fixed address. The jungle was dense. There were no American bases within a 1,000-mile radius. And you can't just keep a squadron of fighters flying in circles over Venezuela waiting for the target to step out into the backyard to sunbathe. The American response was a lethal architecture divided into 3 phases that no other country in the world possesses. I think only Israel has that capability. Take a look at the step called the Eye of God. It all starts not in South America but over there in the United States. Drone operators sitting comfortably in super-cooled containers at the Creech Air Force Base in the state of Nevada took control. They launched unmanned giants, possibly the monstrous RQ-4 Global Hawk or the MQ-4C Triton. These aircraft flew at over 50,000 feet of altitude. Above efficient radars, above commercial routes, above the speed of sound. Using synthetic aperture radars, they mapped every house, every car, every movement pattern. Over hundreds of square kilometers in the state of Bolivar over months. They found the needle in the Amazon haystack. And then comes step 2, the silent blade. The terrifying MQ-9 Reaper drone comes into play, the backbone of Western tracking warfare. In fact, this same drone was used and is being used now against the Ayatollahs of Iran. Operated directly by the CIA from hidden airstrips in Puerto Rico, the drone lowered its altitude, it narrowed the camera lens. It started to monitor only the green roof and the pickup trucks around it. The ultra-high resolution camera read the license plates of the cars and studied the warrior's lifestyle pattern. Donald Trump watched the cartel leader argue with his girlfriend in the backyard, without him even hearing the sound of engines in the sky. And then came step 3, the thermobaric collapse. The Venezuelan government shut down the network, using human intelligence sources planted near the complex. Or even traitors within the drug dealer's inner circle. We're talking about espionage. Venezuela confirmed it. Guerreiro was physically present in the house at that exact second. The fusion of satellite imagery coming from Nevada with human confirmation in the jungle. It triggered the authorization to launch weapons. The MQ-9 Reaper opened its bays and released the AGM-114R Hellfire missile. This weapon wasn't made to spray the neighborhood with shrapnel. The goal wasn't to leave wounded people fleeing through the woods. The warhead created a thermobaric vacuum. It's the same principle as taking a giant plastic bottle. Super pressurize it and explode it from the inside out. The change in pressure, it destroyed the walls and turned the terrorist into a statistic. And if you thought the Hellfire operation was impressive, you need to pay attention to next-generation technologies that are being prepared to eradicate these factions. Because Tren de Aragua has submarines, complex sea routes, and clandestine river ports. And this is where disruptive defense companies like Anduril Industries come in. They come into play to dominate the scene. Anduril isn't an old junk manufacturer. They created the Let's Lattice AI software. An artificial intelligence that works like a brain, capable of commanding dozens of eliminator machines autonomously. They're like digital ninjas. The Let's Lattice AI software will power the newest American bet, the Barracuda cruise missile family. They're autonomous drones that work as low-cost cruise missiles. They can be launched from planes, trucks, or ships. They communicate with each other. They don't need a pilot controlling every maneuver with a joystick in Nevada. They use artificial intelligence to hunt down the traffickers' speedboats in a ruthless and autonomous way. All of this carries a deafening geopolitical message for the rest of Latin America. President Trump, he established an absolutely zero-tolerance policy toward barbarism. And I want to draw attention to Mexico, under the political leadership of President Claudia Sheinbaum. Leader of the left there in Mexico, with strong ties to the Mexican cartels, has just seen the consequence of this leniency. The cartels thought they had bought the entire political class, and that their strongholds in the jungle and the mountains of Sinaloa were safe. The annihilation of this terrorist in Venezuela proves otherwise. Not even Nicolas Maduro serves as a protective shield anymore. And if the sanctuary of the Aragua train collapsed overnight, all the leaders of transnational factions understood the lesson. Including here in Brazil, there's no need for an invasion with aircraft carriers. There's no need for a B-2 or B-52 bomber dropping a GBU-57 on a community in the slum. No, my friends. A drone launching a missile that just goes right through the window. It already takes that terrorist straight to hell, and it doesn't matter if he's in the middle of the Amazon or in the most crowded place in Rio de Janeiro. He will be found. So we need to expand the radar and analyze the global shift, because the chessboard of power moved simultaneously. This lethal force that the United States is demonstrating in Latin America is the same maximum pressure that is cornering the terrorist axis in the Middle East. The world woke up to the Prime Minister of Pakistan announcing to everyone that the United States and Iran have finally agreed on the final text of a historic peace agreement, followed by President Trump's statement. But what happened minutes later? Pay attention. IRNA, the semi-official news agency of the Islamic State of Iran, published that the Tehran regime did not make any new commitments. This is the essence of terror, cognitive dissonance. You negotiate with a fragmented leadership where diplomacy shakes your hand and the Ayatollah arms the bomb. Washington's narrative was precise. Iran committed itself unconditionally and for an indefinite period to never ever build a nuclear weapon. This is the non-negotiable basis of this agreement. The bombings of Operation Epic Fury from the previous days. They destroyed 90% of Tehran's logistical and radar capabilities. The American military tied the Ayatollahs to the chair. They showed that the factions within Iran need to decide whether they will embrace national unity to save future lives, or if they want to play with fate and take another missile deluge next week. The maximum pressure that wiped out the warrior nest in the Venezuelan jungle is the same gravitational pressure that is forcing the end of Iran's atomic program in the caves of the Middle East. The language of invisible fire is universal. But I want your opinion obviously here. Do you think Iran will really sign the agreement? Because according to what Trump is bringing us, it would be too good to be true. Iran without a nuclear program. Iran without a missile program. Iran without controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Comment here what you think about this. Do we have a deal, or is it just more bluffing? Well, my friends, we are not just following isolated events. We are witnessing a structural cleansing on a planetary scale, the removal of the untouchables. And for you to see the level of institutional panic right after the Green Roof Complex disappeared from the Venezuelan map, members of the Aragua Train faction started freaking out online. It's almost comical if it weren't real. The administrators of the Wikipedia page for the Aragua Train reported desperate attempts by the faction itself to edit their page. The virtual sanctuary turned to dust. The organization started submitting complaints to Wikipedia's moderation, demanding that the classification of their hideout be masked and changed, trying to change the label from terrorist complex to a ridiculous candy and cotton candy factory in the forests. To prevent anyone from geolocating them, the bloodthirsty faction that abused and killed young girls tried to trigger the terms of use of an online encyclopedia. It's the creeping panic of rats that have lost the sewer. And to record that you followed, from beginning to end, our translation of Invisible Fire, and you don't swallow the lie of the submissive press. I ask you to participate. Go down to the comments section of the video now and comment our elite verdict. Using exactly these two keywords, end of impunity, type that, show it to the amateur analysts, and to the fact-checking agencies that our channel doesn't mess around and fully understands when the system decides to enforce the lethal and surgical engineering to root out evil, but the system will try to cover up this truth. If you're on public platforms and want access to geopolitics without institutional constraints and censorship, I invite you to join our intelligence bunker today. It's our own platform, shielded, free from the dictatorial algorithm. We are a restricted community with more than 3,000 elite analysts who fund the truth here. We pore over what is really happening, cross-referencing real reports and exposing the facts. Point your phone now at the QR code on the screen, or click the link I left in the description and in the first pinned comment. Come to the safe zone. And for you who are committed to our community, we've prepared a positive surprise. We launched our new channel on YouTube in a powerful partnership with my friend Davi Almeskani from the Viva Israel channel. We founded Ponto de Ruptura. It will be the largest community of analysts on this platform. I call on all of you to subscribe there now. Our mission is to reach the huge goal of 100,000 subscribers in just 30 days and break the system. Link in the description, in the first pinned comment, and in the card that will appear on your screen. And stop wasting time scrolling through streaming platforms trying to find something worthwhile. Our channel brings you tips and impeccable curation of series and movies for you to enjoy with your family. No kuturuk, no forced agendas, and no whining. Link in the description and in the pinned comment. And also here in the card that will appear in the video. The narrative war happens every day, and your attention is the main weapon. Now subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell to receive all alerts without being blocked by the algorithm. And most importantly, leave a like on this video. Because chewing through all this raw data and delivering the truth, no matter who it hurts, is an enormous amount of work. It's a lot of work, my friends. Now shield your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.